So today I'm going to explore ghost printing and how to achieve a really good ghost print. There are three main ways that you can do a ghost print, and I'm going to talk you through those today. So let's get started. My name's Holly and I'm a printmaker and mixed media artist from Hertfordshire in the UK. I absolutely love gel printing and collage, and that is what a lot of my videos are about. If you're interested, then please like, subscribe. I hope you really enjoy this and I hope it inspires you to go away and do something yourself. So today I'm going to be mostly working with pinks and blues. However, I will be using a bit of Payne's grey for the contrast, so just so that you know. So to begin with, I'm just going to put a little bit of paint on the middle of my plate. Really don't need very much. That's always my top tip for anybody who's just started doing gel printing. You don't need much paint. So I'm just going to roll that out evenly across my plate with big movements of my roller. If you do lots of little ones, it just rubs all the paint back off your plate. So just need to do big movements with your roller. And these are just bits and pieces of weeds that I've collected in the garden today. So they're not pressed. So as you use them, they should press down onto the plate. And I'm just going to put them at different angles across the plate. Okay, so to begin with, I'm going to use a bit of tissue paper. Now, I often find that you get really good definition when you use tissue paper. So I'm just going to place that down over the plate. So because the tissue paper is really thin, it means you can get right between all the bits of the plant really well. So it should give lots of really good detail. So some people might use a roller at this point, although with tissue paper, I certainly think it's easier to use your hands. But generally, I tend to use my hand anyway, just because I like to get right in between all of the bits of the plants. So when you're happy, and you can, because it's tissue, you can actually see which bits you've pressed down properly and which maybe need a bit more work. Okay, so when you're happy you've done that, you just want to pull it back. If as you're pulling back you think, oh, I could have pressed a bit harder on that, you can always put the paper back down and press a bit harder, but I think this has probably worked fine. So that print in itself is quite pretty there. You could probably do something with that, but we're focusing on the ghost prints today. So what you want to do next is just pull up all the bits off the plate that you've put down. You should have a lot of really nice detail there. Now, for this first way of doing ghost prints, I'm actually going to let the paint dry onto the plate now. So if you're impatient like me, you can use a heat gun, but otherwise you can just wait for it. And it's quite warm today as I'm filming this, so it should dry off quite quickly. The reason why you want it to dry off is because you want it to dry onto the plate so that the next colours that you put down will not take off the colour straight away. You want the colour that's already on the plate, this dark grey, to stay on the plate when you put the background over the top. You don't want it to wipe away because it's still wet. So I'm just going to use the heat gun just to make sure that it's definitely dry. Some people are worried about using a heat gun on their plate. I use it often and it's never done anything to my plate. Some of my plates I've been using for 4 or 5 years. So as long as you don't hold it for too long and you don't put it on a high setting and you're not too close to the plate, then you should be absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to use a couple of different colours on this plate, on this one. Should be all right. So I'm going to use this lilac here on one end of the plate. And then I'm going to use this pink here. So the different brands that I'm using here, this pink is Pebeo and it's the metallic pink one. And then this one at the bottom, the purple, the lilac, is called acrylic, Art Studio Premium, and you can get them in the range in the UK. And Pebeo, you can get them I mean, you can get them online, you can get them in Hobbycraft, you can get them lots of places. So I'm just going to like evenly blend them in the middle. So a little bit of paint at the top, a little bit of paint at the bottom. This time I'm actually going to use some thicker paper. So this is kind of mixed media paper. So you just want to press that down onto the plate like this. Now, you just want at this point the paper to almost dry onto the plate, because when you pull it up, you don't want it to just take off the background layer that we've just done. You want it to pull up the whole lot. So when I'm smoothing it over with my hands are quite warm, so they're helping to dry it off. Again, this is another point that you just need to be a little bit patient for. Again, you can use the heat gun just to make sure that you've dried it off completely. Okay, so when you're happy that you think it's dried, you can always check the corner just to make sure that it's pulling everything off your plate. So it does seem to be pulling all of the black off, or the dark grey off there in one corner, but not over here for some reason. So let's just go down a bit over that more. Okay, let's try this corner. Seems to be pulling it all off. At this point, you can always just go away and come back to it and waiting for it to pull everything off. It's up to you. Yeah, I think that seems to be working. Just a little bit there that's still on the plate. There we go, that'll do. Okay, so there's the first print. So you can see you've got quite a lot of detail there with the plants that were on the plate. So it's really an interesting print there. So that's the first way that you can do it. So what you do is you're allowing the paint to dry onto the plate, and then you're putting a background on top to pull the print off. Okay, so I've just had a bit of a clean up of my plate so that I can start afresh. This time I'm going to use some purple paint. This is Pebeo, and it's like a transparent purple. And I'm just going to spread that out across the plate. Just a thin layer. Okay, so now I'm going to get my foliage again and lay it down over my plate. However you want to do it is fine. I do sometimes press my foliage, but this time I'm just going straight in with it as it is. Okay, so then you want to work quickly, especially well today and here it's very warm, so I'm going to work quickly. I'm just using A4 copier paper here. So you just want to press that down over your foliage. And just make sure you get in between all the bits of the foliage so that you get as clean an image as possible. Okay, when you're happy that you've smoothed it down, you've got in between all the bits, you can start to pull it back. Like I said before, you can always place the paper back down if as you're pulling it up you realise that there's a bit you've missed or you want it to be a bit more detailed. Okay, so that's the silhouette print. So I'm just going to remove these. Now for this method, you need to work quick, especially with the paints I'm using anyway, because they are quite quick drying. And what you want to do is just place another piece of paper down straight away on top. Again, this is just copier paper. Now the reason you want to do it so quick is that if you're not careful, the paint will dry and then you won't get any image at all come out. So again, you want to almost get it to stick to the plate so that it pulls everything up when you pull it up. And just smoothing over it like this is just, my hands are warm, so it's helping to speed up the drying process and pull everything up. Okay, so then you can pull up the corner just to check that it's doing what you want it to, and yes, it is. There we go. That's the second method of pulling a ghost print. So literally you just have to be really quick and before it dries, just pull the print up straight away. So with that method, you can actually do another colour print on top of that as well, which I'll show you now. So this time I'm going to use a bit of metallic blue. Can't get all the bits off. Some of the bits of the plant have fallen off onto the plate, so I'm just going to get them off quick. Okay, so a bit of metallic blue this time. Just spread that out across your plate. You only want a really thin layer, you don't need it to be too thick. And again, work quickly so that it doesn't dry too quick. So just want to place all your leaves or foliage down on the plate as quick as you can. Okay, right. So then again, you want another piece of copier paper just so you can press down onto the plate and get all the excess bits off of the background. These are just bits and pieces of leaves and foliage, weeds mostly, that I've pulled up from the garden, but I try and pick bits that have got like really thin stems and interesting details on the ends. Nice little leaves, because then they give out the best impression on the plate. Okay, then you want to pull that back, and then if you can go as quickly as you can before it dries, pull all those bits off, and then you can just place this one that we did before back down onto the plate to pull up the rest. So you just smooth that down, and again try and get it to dry onto the plate so that it pulls it all up. And just smooth it down. When you think you might be happy that it's dried onto the plate, and like I say, it is quite warm today, so it is tending to do things quite quickly, you can then pull it back. And because I've chosen a bit more of a subtle colour this time, it complements the purple quite well. And if you wanted to, you could even put another layer on top of that. So that's method 2. Okay, so for method 3, you're going to need some masking tape. So like this. So I'm going to use a darker purple this time. You can mix colours on the plate, but I'm just going to choose to just use one colour this time. So a little bit of paint in the middle. So this paint that I'm using is a little bit thicker and heavier bodied. So you just want to smooth that down and just spread it out across the plate. If you think you have too much paint, you can always roll a bit off on a roll-off sheet. That's what I'm doing here. Just make sure that it's spread out evenly. and it doesn't distract from what you're doing. Right, so then you want to place all your foliage just down onto the plate again. You can arrange it however you want to. It's a good idea to make sure that you can pull the bits up easily from the edges. So I tend to always have bits and pieces that are over the side, just so that they're easier to pull up at the end. Okay, and when you've done that, again, you just want a bit of copier paper, and you're going to place that down onto your plate. So smooth it down as you have before, but this time, as well as smoothing it down, you're actually going to use a bit of masking tape, and you're going to tape the very top of the page down onto the surface that you're working on. So keep smoothing it down and just making sure that you've got in between all your bits of foliage so that it leaves the best impression behind on your plate. There we go. Okay, when you're happy that you've smoothed it all down, you want to pull it up from the bottom, and where you've stuck it down onto the onto your worktop, that will act as a guide. So then you just want to pull all your foliage off the plate, like that. Any bits that I've got left behind you can pull off as well. And then you're just going to place the same piece of paper back down onto the plate and smooth it down. Again, just making sure that it's kind of picked up everything off your plate, smooth it right down. You can always use your heat gun just to make sure it's definitely dried onto the plate properly. You can use a hairdryer as well, as long as it's on a low setting. Now this time some of it's got left behind on the plate. Some of it's pulling off, but still make a really nice image. There we go. This time you can see that the ghost print is inside the silhouette areas. So it means you get it all as one print. So that is method 3. As a little bonus here, I'm going to pull up what's left on my plate here, because some of it got left behind. Because I think this might create a nice ghost print where not all of the ghost print is there. It's like just suggestions of it. I'm just going to smooth this paint out onto the plate. Again, I'm using metallic colours here, the Pebeo ones, which tend to work quite well actually. And I'm going to use a little bit of tissue. There we go. So just smooth that down so it pulls up everything. See if we can get it to pull up a bit more. Because it's tissue paper and I'm not using wet strength, it can be a bit delicate, so you have to be a little bit careful. There we go, that's pulling a bit more up this time. Just have to be a little bit careful how you pull it up so it doesn't tear. Tore a little bit at the top, but that's fine. And there you've got like a really nice delicate print of what was left on there. So it's almost a suggestion of a ghost print. So there's a little bonus bit for you. So that's 3 different methods for creating ghost prints that I've gone through today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's going to inspire you to go off and do some ghost prints of your own. I'd love to hear how you get on. So please comment, please like, subscribe. And if you have any suggestions of anything that you'd like to see me do with gel printing, or that you need more advice on, then please let me know. Thanks, bye.